All right, let's turn to the Trump trial. So some major developments, Donald Trump being held in contempt again and giving a speech where he says he is very happy to serve in jail. Let's take a listen to what he said.
And it's a disgrace. And then you have the other thing that maybe is even more disgraceful is the gag order, where I can't I have to watch every word I tell you people. You ask me a question, a simple question, I'd like to give it, but I can't talk about it. Because this judge has given me a gag order and said you'll go to jail if you violate it. And frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is much more important than jail. It's not even close.
So our Constitution is more important in jail. It's not even close, allegedly, and further going on saying that he would be happy to do it. Let's put this up there on the screen. This happens after Trump has been fined for contempt the 10th time now in the trial. He's been fined $1,000 each time. The sternest warning yet from the judge, who says that clearly the money is not enough and that future gag order violations would send him to jail. So obviously that is pretty significant because the $1,000 isn't exactly cracking the wallet of Donald Trump here. Especially with all of his Truth Social stock. But this has kind of overtaken the fact that there have been some significant developments in the trial itself. The most significant testimony actually happened on Friday. I've been wanting to give everybody an update. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. It entails Hope Hicks, once his most closest advisor, his communications director in the White House. She was integral to the entire operation. She gave a tearful testimony at times over 2 hours, quote, with a behind-the-scenes glimpse into how his inner circle operated and responded to negative media stories. So Hicks actually was testifying there about learning about the Access Hollywood tape, about what the inside of how they learned about the Karen McDougal story, who previously also alleged an affair with Donald Trump, and then also Michael Cohen's role in the Stormy Daniels hush money payment. So Hicks, despite being one of Trump's closest advisors, Krystal, called here to trial to try and offer evidence as to the fact that this was a payment given to Stormy Daniels motivated purely by the campaign and not, as Trump is alleging, that it was a personal expense that was done on his behalf.
Yeah, and a lot was made of the fact she was very emotional.
Yes.
Reportedly, she's still quite loyal to Trump. I mean, this is someone who'd known him from the time she was quite a young woman, thrust into the spotlight and into this big national position, and really was, especially in the early days of the Trump presidency, just at the heart of everything that was going on. And, in terms of what impact it has on the trial, I think it's significant, her testifying to the nature of the campaign and how they operated from just interest remembering that time. It was also really fascinating to hear her perspective on what happened the day that they got, the media inquiry about, hey, you want to respond to this whole Access Hollywood tape? They first got the transcript from the Washington Post. She's reading through it and is like, this is terrible. And her first thing that she sends to everyone is, we need to deny, deny, deny. Very quickly, they also, though, get the video and realize, okay, that's probably not going to be a workable strategy. And she takes you into the room where she's the person who has to talk to Trump about what is about to come out. She said in her testimony, I shared the email with Mr. Trump sort of verbally, and we were at the time, based on the conversation outside the conference room, trying to get a copy of the audio or the tape to assess the situation further. We weren't sure yet how to respond. We were kind of just trying to gather more information. Everyone was observing the shock of it. Then she's asked, when you say you shared the content verbally, did you read, Mr. Trump, the email you received from Mr. Farenthold? He was the reporter who had asked for comment on this. She says, I read him the email. I have a vague recollection of starting to read the transcript, and then he finished reading it himself, I believe. Did you hand the email for him to read? Yes, that's my recollection. And what, if anything, did he say? He said that it didn't sound like something he would say. Oh, really? It definitely sounds like something he would say, and obviously it was on tape.
Obviously he said it.
But I mean, it's extraordinary. She says she was stunned, hard to describe. It was definitely concerning. I had, a good sense this was going to be a massive story and sort of dominate the news cycle for the next several days at least. And she indicates it was a damaging development. This is all. The reason this is relevant to this case, because you might think, why are they talking about this? Isn't actually directly related to the Stormy Daniels thing, is to provide insight into the way that they reacted to negative stories that would come out about Trump, especially with regards to any sort of sexual relationships or commentary, et cetera, and how much they understood these things could be damaging to the campaign. Because remember, the core of this question is, okay, was these payments to Stormy Daniels, should these have been a campaign expense, or were there other reasons that Trump may have wanted to bury the story? Like, for example, his wife him not wanting his wife to find out. So that's why this piece is relevant, try to provide context of like, yes, this was all about the campaign. Yes, when these negative stories would come out, they realized they were really damaging. They moved, did whatever they could to try to mitigate that damage, et cetera, et cetera. And the speculation about why Hope was emotional, I mean, anyone can kind of relate and understand, but this is someone she feels loyal to, and here she is testifying on the stand and feeling like she's providing information that's likely damaging. I think that's probably why it was difficult for her on the stand.
Absolutely. I will say she did give some evidence that would be helpful for Trump. I mean, in terms of reasonable doubt. She said that Donald Trump was concerned about the impact of the Stormy Daniels news on Melania Trump, his wife, and apparently said he was very concerned about how it would be viewed by his wife and wanted to make sure the newspapers weren't delivered to the residence that morning. And, quote, the former president really values his wife's opinion. So giving at least some room possibly for reasonable doubt. One of the things, we want to prepare everybody for is that remember, you only need one person to declare a mistrial or a hung jury. Like, it's very possible to create reasonable doubt. I think he's actually presented, despite all the craziness around it, enough reasonable doubt for at least maybe one or two so-called impartial people to say, yeah, maybe he did do it for personal reasons. And that's all you really need to actually win this. Let's put this up there on the screen. Trump is trying to turn this to his political advantage. Quote, Trump escalates attacks on prosecutors, says that the Democrats run a, quote, Gestapo administration. This was actually made at a fundraiser. My favorite part of the fundraiser, Krystal, is he said, anyone who donates $1 million here at this fundraiser can come up here and can say whatever they want. And he was taken up on it by a couple of people. So effective strategy, very effective strategy.
What do they have to say with their $1 million?
Anyone who makes $1 million donation right now, I will let you come up and speak. Quote, 2 donors then came to the stage and told the crowd, Donald J. Trump is the person that God has chosen.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know who you are with $1 million, with beliefs like that and $1 million in disposable income, but I guess good luck.
I guess money really is speech, Saagar.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. It's pretty amazing. Our main takeaway, again, here is that Trump, I've seen a lot of analysis on this. I'm curious what you think. Trump seems to believe that him getting arrested would create another Mar-a-Lago type moment, or being thrown in jail would create a Mar-a-Lago type moment where it would force again the Republican Party to coalesce around him the same way that we had the Mar-a-Lago raid. You already see evidence that Ron DeSantis is meeting with Donald Trump and doing campaign events set in the future on the schedule together. We haven't seen Nikki Haley or any of those others come, but he remembers how Mar-a-Lago really saved him back in, November of 2022, and he believes he could recreate that if he was held in contempt and sent to jail, and turn it into a free speech thing.
So your analysis...
No, I'm saying that's what he is
believing.
I don't know if that's true or not.
But your analysis is that he's repeatedly violating the gag order to sort of intentionally court getting thrown in prison?
I think it's possible, because I don't know, what's the other possible reason? I mean, nobody...
Because he just,
let's be honest,
pops off of the mouth all the freaking time.
Yeah,
I think it's just wildly undisciplined. Because I think that's possible too. That he is actually wants the spectacle of getting thrown into jail and is like kind of asking for it. I think that is possible.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a particularly wise strategy.
Oh, I wouldn't do it either.
Because it's one thing in the context of a Republican primary, right? Yes, that rallied all the troops around him in the context of a Republican primary. In general election, I think it's very different political dynamic. He's already got all Republicans on board. I don't think DeSantis, coming on board is any surprise or has really anything to do with this trial. It's just like, yeah, he's the nominee. He's very possibly the next president. If I'm going to have a political future, I better make things right with this dude. So that was always going to happen. So that piece I don't think is really connected. But yeah, the prospect of Trump actually getting thrown into jail, it just brings this story to the forefront of the public. It provides images of him actually in prison that I don't think are really great for him. And then the other thing here too is the reason why this latest fine was levied is he was smearing basically the jury, which I know they're supposed to be disconnected from the media and not know what's going on. But if you're out there just repeatedly going after the jury or the ones that are responsible for your fate or the judge who's very important in terms of being responsible for your fate, it's not really a great legal strategy, I would say. And you're right that he has things to work with legally in this case. I think like you said, Hope Hicks testified in particular with regard to the Karen McDougal story, which is relevant here. That's one of the catch and kill situation with National Enquirer, that he was worried about what Melania would think, and that could be, you know, a real part of what was going on. I don't think it's requires a huge leap of imagination for people to imagine that he didn't want his wife to know about his affair with a porn star.
Right.
So legally, he has things to work with here if he genuinely is like trying to get thrown in jail. First of all, I'm not sure it's going to work because the judge did indicate that might be required, but also expressed a lot of understandable reluctance about taking what would be an absolutely extraordinary step. But I'm also not sure that political analysis from Trump really holds up.
We'll see.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.